kama unaiba asali, utaleta asali, tusema kalani ngapi? 4 kwa moja.
This is KTN News.
Welcome back to Inside Politics. This is Kenya's only Sunday morning political program. Today we are focusing on the BBI juggernaut that today is making its stop in Garissa. Right now as we speak, the rally will be starting anytime from now. Chris Tairu is there with the KTN News team to bring us the proceedings. Shall be taking you there shortly. Immediately the important speeches begin. But right now we are trying to dissect some of the issues that have been happening shaping this BBI conversation. We have been speaking about the issue of various regions coming out to the fore to speak about historical injustices and issues that have not been resolved over the years. And this seemed to be the ultimate talking points in these Building Bridges initiatives. We expect the same to be coming out of the Garissa one today, with leaders from Wajir, Garissa and Mandera saying they will be taking this rally to try and have the government act on issues like the deployment of teachers in that particular region, as well as the issues of affirmative actions on health and education, and all those things that have been unresolved. We have been asking, is this the way to go? We are looking forward to hearing from you as well. Remember, you can call us later on the show to tell us what you think. But ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the small matter of the Prime Minister's position, which has been part of this conversation from the word go. Several people have spoken about it. Last week it was Mudavadi who said he does not support it because he was part of the Grand Coalition government and it did not work. There were 2 centers of power. Mudavadi saying that, Raila Odinga yesterday in Narok Stadium saying Mudavadi is stuck in the past. That it will not be the same. It will be like Tanzania, where we have a president and a prime minister, but there are not 2 centers of power. Jero, do you agree? Which one do you think can work? What is your take on the PM's position?
Well, as I've said in several spaces, for me, the PM's position, as is, was designed exactly to be the way it has been written in I think page 51 or 52, 50 to 52 of the BBI report. The thing here is you need to have an executive president with a quiet, powerful PM in the background. Those clamoring for an executive or more powers for the Prime Minister do not really understand the objective of the BBI. In my opinion, if the horse trading that led to the introduction of this Trojan horse called BBI after the handshake was about having the Right Honorable Raila Odinga as the executive president of the Republic of Kenya, what was the trade-off for the co-handshaker who is President Uhuru Kenyatta? A powerful background position, either inhabited by he himself or somebody else who is very well versed with what their interests are economically. And when you have that kind of prime minister with a principal secretary who manages the work of the other principal secretaries in all the other ministers, which have cabinet secretaries who will now be drawn from the legislature so that they can be driving around with their banderas fluttering in the wind, going to constituencies and forgetting to run their ministries, who will actually run the ministries? It'll be the principal secretaries. And those principal secretaries will report back to the principal secretary sitting in the Prime Minister's office, a humble Prime Minister who will be quietly in the background, but they're the ones who will move and shake the work of the executive. They will sign contracts. They will be the ones responsible for the continued disappearance of millions, of billions, of trillions of shillings. And that was, for me, the ultimate objective behind having a Prime Minister. So everybody who wants a more powerful Prime Minister has forgotten what the deal was in the back room between the two handshakers.
All right. Is that what the deal was, Ken? Is that what this country needs?
I think I am among the few Kenyans who believe that we were set up by the team. They gave us a lackster Prime Minister, colorless Prime Minister, so that it appears it is coming from Kenyans that we want this kind of a Prime Minister. And even these people who speak in these BBI rallies and asking for this kind of a prime minister, it's not that they're thinking on the stage. It is something they discuss in the background and come to talk to the Wanjiku so that it appears it is coming from Wanjiku. Ultimately, as it appears today in that proposed document, I don't think I support that model of the prime minister. We can never have a prime minister who is serving at the mercy of the executive. Remember, what Kenyans are yearning for is representation at the top level. And one of the reasons why they are purportedly expanding the executive is because some communities, some people have felt that they have historically been excluded from leadership. You've heard this rhetoric that, oh, the presidency has only been in 2 communities for more than 60 years, between the Kalenjins and the Kikuyus. Let us expand the executive and debunk this myth. However, in expanding this executive, we may end up expanding the forest and retaining the same monkeys, which will be very, very sad, because now the rate at which they will be consuming the maize and the fruits in the forest will be very high, and the country will be left without anything to eat. When you look at Matiang'i today, the way Matiang'i has been clothed as a CS, I see no difference other than in semantics between what BBI is bringing in terms of the Prime Minister and what the Super PS can do. Matiang'i is very powerful. Other CS are worshipping him. When they see him, they say, Your Excellency, Your Excellency. Why can't we either just retain even that Super Minister, or if we have a PM, let us have a PM who can take charge of government so that he can be accountable. Just like a PS is accountable in a ministry and the minister is in charge of policy, we can have a PM who is accountable to Parliament and to Kenyans in terms of running the government.
Thank you. Hesbon.
Well, I think the whole issue of a prime minister is contested, and the reason is very simple. What we had in the Grand Coalition government was essentially an arrangement that had 2 centers of power. I mean, it was an accord because there was a winner and another winner, and they had to share power. And the sentiments by Musalia Mudavadi, who was in the arrangement as a deputy prime minister, need to be situated broadly. That if there was some sort of antagonism, ministers who did not respect one center of power and ministers who just decided that they're going to do their thing irrespective of what the PM said, then it informs the clarity that we need when we think about the position of the Prime Minister and the position of the President and the kind of structures that we're going to have to ensure that if you're a Prime Minister and you wield executive power, you are protected both from the presidency and from Parliament, and you have a framework to serve the interest of the people. And I think the whole idea of, we'll have 2 centers of power are the things that we need to hear, that there is a challenge if we just wish away so many other things that we've had in the past and create the position of the Prime Minister. So that means that we need to be a lot more clear in the way we are going to articulate the office of the Prime Minister. And it doesn't matter what people think about the predetermined outcome of the BBI. I think when Kenyans have been given an opportunity and Kenyans are being directed to the models that we are thinking about, I think Kenyans have the intellectual infrastructure to articulate themselves and present their views to the task force. But it should also be clear that we should not start whipping emotions and telling people that these positions are created for certain people, because that is defeatist. If you're talking about the BBI and it's going to have a legislative framework and probably a referendum that will change the law, we should be thinking as Kenyans, how will these things help us? Because the current crop of political leaders are not going to be there forever. No one is going to live forever. So the conversation that BBI is eliciting, the issues that people need to raise to the BBI, should be looking at all these positions that are created beyond individuals. But unfortunately, people want to look at the position of the BBI as created for an individual, which is erroneous. At no point is it written, and at no point in the handshake document.
However, is that the political reality on the ground?
You see, the political reality on the ground is whipped by politicians. If politicians have issues with other politicians, they are likely to say anything. But the task force is apolitical. The task force will collect and collate views of Kenyans. Politicians will purportedly express themselves in a way that suggests that they're expressing the views of Kenyans. But we are lucky because Kenyans also have an opportunity to just go directly to the BBI task force and present their views.
Okay.
So we should not be deceived by politicians who are pointing directions that we are creating the position of a prime minister for husband. No one is creating for anyone.
Let me get the views of Dismas, and as I do that, let me say something about the apolitical nature of the task force. The chairman, Yusuf Aju, is attending today's rally as in his capacity as a senator of Garissa.
The chair, yes.
Is attending as a senator of Garissa. Yes. I said that this BBI train is unstoppable.
And let me tell you, the political angle of BBI is obvious. I mean, the reason why we have BBI today is because we had political turmoil.
And the handshake.
Okay. So that is the accent to which political conversations are important.
Dismas, what is your take on this PM position?
When you listen to these conversations from BBI and even from the rest of Kenyans, you form the impression that we are intellectually lazy and we are not courageous. As Kenyans, we need to take a decision. Are we going to have a pure presidential system, then we create infrastructure around it? Or are we going to have a pure parliamentary system and then we create infrastructure around it? Right. So this idea, because now we are lazy, we want to accommodate a varied interest, then we want to say we are going to have a president and then we are going to have a prime minister. That's the reason why Mudavadi has indicated, if this is the kind of model you want, then you must have clarity. There's a very high chance that you'll have a prime minister with more political capital than the president. You can easily have a prime minister who can hold the president hostage because he commands maybe the National Assembly or maybe even he commands the Senate. He's got more political capital. You don't want to have that turbulence where the president and the prime minister, they're always fighting. You know, they're moving left, right like a pendulum. So we need to take a decision as the Kenyans. What exactly are we looking for? Now, there is
a no mongrel kind of a system.
Yeah, because you see, Kenya, we are a tribal society. I mean, from the census reports, if you get a prime minister who commands support from 3 communities, he can easily hold everybody hostage in Kenya. That's why there's need to have that clarity. And in as much as Jerotich thinks that everything has been done and the Kenyans are rubber stamping, but we've got the opportunity as Wananchi to go and rock the boat and tell these people that you are the ones who've been running Kenya from the time we attained independence, and we are not seeing results. You know, we keep on comparing ourselves with Singapore and South Korea. Some of the guys who are speaking today are the ones who came up with policy papers that have been implemented in Singapore and South Korea. They're bearing results. And then they're here, they're not giving us anything. So Cherotich and the company must stop running away from responsibility. They've got a duty to go and face that steering committee of Yusuf Haji and say that I've had a bit of contempt for you for a while or disdain and the processes, but here I am, I want to come and present my views. If we don't do that, those politicians gathered there today, you know, they're our problem. Now, as Mura, we have to go and give them the solution. We cannot afford to, you know, hold ourselves in this manner and say that it's a done deal. Proactively, we must take our role. Because if you don't do that, you'll go back home and you yawn, and these guys will allocate themselves the antelope.
My dear brother, Duke of Mosocho, let me just be clear about a couple of things. Even if, until the cows come home, we run and give our views to the steering committee, and we have been told referendum whether we like it or not. Even if I go to the referendum and vote no, we have a massive elephant in the room that we are skirting with issues of land and other things, and that is the IEBC. Are we like warthogs that we have actually forgotten what happened in 2017? We have forgotten that the Waki report, the Kriegler report, these reports will tell us exactly what happens all the time when electoral injustice kicks in. So even if I give my views are represented or not, I go vote no or yes, who is to say that the IEBC in its current composition is competent, is ethical enough to run such an election? So for me, it is on 2 fronts. I believe this is a Trojan horse. This is a fait accompli. It is an exercise in retrofit. Even if I try to not be lazy, as you're saying, because I'm not lazy, I've read the document, I have vigorously and rigorously interrogated it, and I go and vote. Tell me my vote will not count. The same Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who, and now we can say it on national TV, I voted for in 2017, my vote did not count. And so long as my vote doesn't count, so long as we have not reformed the IEBC, it's nothing. That's why we have been told, pende msipende, the train is going, it is unstoppable. Even the chair of the committee is telling us it is unstoppable.
You have the power to rock the boat.
We have the power, but Kenyans have been so utterly polarized that we are unable to think of Kenya for ourselves. So we have already been divided into camps. There is pro-BBI, anti-BBI, Kieleweke, Tanga, Kina Musalia coming in, others coming in. We cannot rise up against this.
My take as Mokua prepares to reply is this. First, my brother has said that these positions are being created without anyone in mind.
I didn't say that.
Okay, you appeared.
Yes. No. I just say that we cannot propagate the narrative.
Okay.
We cannot propagate that narrative.
Yes. Very well. Now I want to say this, now that you have not said it.
Yes.
I want to say the opposite. That for every political infrastructure being created at any reform time, it has people in mind. And that is the mistake we do in most democracies in the world and in Africa in particular. I'll give you a Kenyan example. In 2005, one of the reasons as to why Odinga, Ruto, and others were fighting the draft is because they had anticipated a powerful premier, and knowing that they would have had numbers, they would have taken over the positions. When it changed, and Raila knew that he would win by popular vote, he then came back in 2010 and supported an executive president. He was seeing that office as an office he will be occupying shortly. But when he lost, for a moment, he diced with the idea of having an executive PM. So the question is, will I have the numbers in parliament, or I'll have the numbers among Kenyans? And then we go for that. And I want to give you an example that has given us problems, including what is happening in Garissa today. I'm a teacher registered by Teacher Service Commission. When we were making the 2010 Constitution, the Ministry of Education was given a position or power to design the kind of TSC that we would have. The occupants of senior offices at the ministry at that level, including the late Professor Goodyear, were creating Teacher Service Commission, not for posterity, but with the hope that they will end up becoming the first commissioners and taking control of TSC. They ended up creating a too powerful TSC and a moribund ministry in terms of teacher management. When they failed to take over those positions at TSC, the tension began in 2011. And that tension exists to date between Teacher Service Commission and the ministry. So creating positions with the people in mind is very dangerous. If you watched my brother, my senior elder, Atwoli yesterday, Atwoli was just stamping, saying, na tutapata nafasi yetu, we shall have a position there. Mi nitaenda kule Council of Elders ya wazee, nitakaa State House. Even in this BBI, Atwoli knows where his position is in State House. That's why he has to move around the country, getting that position.
But I think the response I wanted to give Cherotich is that she's underestimating her influence in Kenya. She's got serious political capital, and she can actually move the masses. She can move the numbers. Now, for her as a role model in Kenya, serious political influence, if she appears to give up, can you imagine how many Kenyans are going to give up after this show? They'll say, if that lady has given up, then who am I even to go and vote? Who am I to go and express my view? So I think in my view...
I have not given up, and I will never give up on Kenya and Wakenya.
But here now, here is a special purpose vehicle, whether or not it's been doctored, which gives you the opportunity to join it and rock the boat within.
A doctored vehicle is not a vehicle worth riding.
This must we've heard you.
Yes.
We can rock the boat.
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
Yes,
that's what we're doing. We're rocking the boat.
I agree, Cherotich. We can rock the boat. But, you know, rocking the boat with this notion that there is a preconceived outcome that is going to come out of this boat is what we are trying to disabuse. That if you're rocking and you have this defeatist attitude that whatever we are doing is an exercise in futility and those big words that you've used, then what you're giving is you're giving Kenyans is a disillusioned state in this thing. But I think Ken has also made aspersions which cannot be verified. That 2020, I don't know, 2005, who was creating a position for who, and I think those are just aspersions and speculations. But the key thing is this. The constitution-making process in 2005 and in 2010 was driven by a number of organizations that came together to push their agenda. At no point in 2005, before that referendum was beaten, did we have Kenyans express what they wanted in their constitution. We had different delegates from different quarters. And that's why we have so many things that are contested. And these guys had financial resources. So they could actually push and weigh in with what they wanted and give up a few things to allow other parties to get their way. But having said that, if we look at the process that we are having right now, does it mean that we're going for a referendum? No. If people are expressing themselves on issues of land, marginalization, and so on and so forth, the kind of government that they want, does it mean that all these things are going to be presented to Kenyans? Kenyans are not going to say that Maasais be given land, people in this part be compensated like this. These documents are still going to be panel beaten. They don't have to end up in a legal document. But the Prime Minister's
question will end up there.
Yes.
And if you agree that creating, making this issue with people in mind to take over those positions is dangerous, like Ken says?
Yeah, it is dangerous. But you see, if you're talking about issues like creation of positions with the kind of elections that we've had since 2007, then you have a case you're making. That we've had divisive elections and we've had turmoil after each and every election since 2007. So if we just focus on issues, that what is the issue? That we've been electing leaders and we have this kind of election and this is the outcome. And critically is what Dismas has said, that if we just build an infrastructure to ensure that this infrastructure will support this kind of leadership, and this is the kind of leadership structures that you're going to have, to ensure that the leader is protected and the leader draws his power from the people, this guy is going to serve the people. And it should not be lost on us that even if you're talking about all these things, that IEBC has a problem. We cannot lump all these problems together and muddy the water and fail to come up with a solution. The idea of electoral reforms is not lost on BBI and on Kenyans. I mean, Kenyans are looking at a situation where even if it doesn't seem lost because you see,
BBI, my brother Hesbon, the BBI is even saying that commissioners should be selected, proposing that the commissioners should be selected by political parties. I mean, if there is one way to compromise an IEBC, that is really a surefire way. But I'm trying here not to be defeatist. In fact, I'm very surprised at my brothers, except for Ken, maybe because he's new, who have said that I have given up. I have not given up, and I'm trying to make a case for Kenyans. Listen to, for example, people like Dr. Wandia Njoya, as she speaks about education, as she speaks about health. We are tireless in our quest for energy justice. We're trying to tell Kenyans, before you lose yourselves in this sinkhole that is BBI, understand that there are very many other ways that we can try to save our country, and we have seen zero political will in that regard. That's why I started by asking Ledama Olekina, as you're whipping up your people around the issues of land, when did I last see you champion way leave compensation for your same communities who are affected so terribly by the moving of either the SGR or power lines? So I'm saying we need to ground ourselves, not in nebulous things that are there for already predetermined reasons, but in the practical ways that we, as Wanjiko, as Mora, as Chepkoech, are able, as Nafula, are able to support ourselves and put food on the table, keep our children in school. And if for that I am referred to as a defeatist because I've refused to join the gravy train, the unstoppable gravy train of BBI, where we have been told the referendum will be coming whether we like it or not, then call me that. But if I am anything, it is not a defeatist. And I'm an optimist in support of justice, fairness, and rights for all Kenyans.
Time's flying. Let's take another quick commercial break.
My brother.
We are still taking views on this BBI issue. Kipchumba Karori says, Hesbon should realize that ours is an ethno-majoritarian democracy, and any idea that strengthens ethnic nationalism takes us back to where we have been before. Our ethnic politics and land problems began in Lancaster. Therefore, it is selfish for my leaders to claim exclusive rights to land problems. What do you think? Remember, you shall be giving a chance to have the final say on what we're discussing today. And of course, we have been and are still live, ready to, on standby to go live from Garissa Primary School, where today's BBI rally is said to be going down. Chris Iro is there with the KTN News team. We shall be